This entitled parent refuses to remove her chair in an emergency lane, preventing emergency workers to get to those in need. What crazy excuses does this EP use to justify her selfishness? Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. The backstory. I was employed as customer service officer. I'd been with the bank for about 18 months at this point, mostly working afternoon shifts, but recently the bank had moved to a 24-hour customer service model. So while most of the bank would be closed, head office, complaints, credit, etc., we were still open. The cast: me, night manager, customer, head of customer relations and retentions. Let me set the scene. 10 PM, midweek, fluorescent lights flicker overhead, the call board empty, and I'm literally counting the seconds left in my shift, ready to go home. Phone call pops onto my screen. I think, crap, I always get a call just before I finish. Me, mustering the best customer service voice. Hi, thanks for calling bank. You're speaking with, how can I help you? I hear nothing but dead air, so I start to repeat myself. Hi, you're speaking with. When I hear the tone of voice and words every contact center worker has heard at some point, it just lets you know they're in for a great call. Not.
Yes, I'm here. Gosh, what takes you people so long to answer? What are you doing?
As noted before, there were no calls on the board. This customer didn't wait in queue. He would have dialed, gone through the IVR to enter his customer number and PIN before being put through to me, at max 60 seconds. Me trying not to provoke any further and get this customer off the phone as quickly as I can so I can go home. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Our system doesn't show a queue, but I'm sorry that you had to wait. What can I do for you this evening? Customer seems to settle down and starts explaining that the reason for the call was the interest charges on the most recent credit card bill. He was sure they were a mistake because I always pay my bills on time, and I don't like paying you bloodsuckers any more than I have to. Charming, I know. So I place him on hold to look at his account. I started looking at the payment history, when payments were due and received, what the balances were, etc. Then I quickly looked at the customer's interaction notes. This is where the bank records any contact with the customer, as well as any fee waivers, special interest rates, etc. And I see an interesting series of notes from colleagues of mine, stating things like, customer advised interest was charged due to full payment, not received by due date. Customer threatened to close all accounts with bank. Manager approved interest waiver. Notes like this went on for months, until there was a note from the head of customer relations and retention stating, if customer threatens to close accounts to seek waiver of fees, interest or other charges, please process immediately. No retention authorized. I was a bit shocked because usually the bank would do a lot to keep existing customers. Like they told us in training, it's cheaper to keep a customer than it is to gain a new one. So I call over my night manager to read the notes and give him a heads up. I've got a feeling the customer is going to be demanding another interest waiver. My cool night manager said, well, if he does, do what the note says. Total hold time, maybe 2 minutes. I take the customer off hold and thank him for waiting.
About time. My time is very valuable, you know. So, have you fixed it yet?
I start explaining that the interest rates are valid because he didn't pay off his balance before the due date. He goes ballistic. He starts calling me every conceivable name under the sun, and mid-sentence stops. He plays it like he's just had an idea.
Fine. If the interest rate charges are valid, I'm going to close my accounts. I want to close my accounts with you now.
At this point, I'm excited about putting him in his place, but I also want to cover my butt, so I ask, so, just to be certain, you're instructing me to close all of your accounts with us, including your credit card, saving account, and transactional account.
Are you stupid? That's what I said.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Me grinning my butt off. Okay, no problems. I'll just place you on hold and do that for you. I hit the hold button as fast as I heard him say,
no, I...
With my night manager's help, we close his accounts. His savings account was a term deposit, so by breaking the term early, he had to pay an early access fee of 10% of the balance. We used the money in his transactional account to cover the outstanding balance in his credit card, including the interest, and sent him a request for a check to be issued for the remaining money. I took the customer off hold. Again, thank you for your patience. As requested, your accounts are now closed. Was there anything else I can help you with tonight? If I thought the customer went ballistic before, oh boy. There was talk of suing the bank, suing me, suing my night manager, suing head of customer relations and retentions, that we were guilty of discrimination, that I didn't have the authority to do what I did. He's going to call the police. We're thieves. Some other ways of telling me how useless I am. You get the picture. I was still smiling because I know I, nor anyone else at this bank, will have to deal with this jerk again. Sir, I understand you are upset. However, on your recorded phone call, you instructed me to close your accounts. I've complied with your wishes. As there is nothing else for us to speak about tonight, thank you for calling the bank. Have a good night. And hung up on him before he could say another word. My night manager created an incident report and sent it to Head of Customer Relations and Retentions with an attached copy of the call recording. I later found out that Head of Customer Relations and Retentions sent the customer a letter telling him he was banned from our bank for life due to the vile and disgusting way he had spoken to me. We would never do business with him ever again, and if he called or visited a branch, we would be the ones calling the police. Do you want to know the total interest charges that started all of this? About $30. His term deposit had $20,000 in it. He cost himself $2,000 in early exit fees because he thought he could bully his way out of about $30 of interest. Working on the phone and customer service absolutely sucks. I know because I've had to do it myself. And most customers are pretty reasonable. It's just pretty boring as a job generally. It's the same sort of problems you're resolving over and over again. But what makes it such a drag is you do have that 20% of customers that are just terrible to deal with. Obviously to varying degrees. In this case, this guy was so bad that they continually had notes on him for months. Someone like that, he just thinks he's smarter than everyone else. He has no idea that they've got all these notes on him. He thinks every time he calls, he's suckering in some new person to waive all his fees. So this almost feels like an uncoordinated mini sting operation against this customer. And in the end, it cost him $2,000, which is some pretty sweet justice because if he was only saving about $30 each time, he would have to have waived those fees 67 times before he even broke even with the $2,000 he just lost. Not to mention all that time he wasted. When you legitimately have a fee that's not supposed to be there, that's why there's customer service. If you're abusing that system to try and get out of paying your fees, then maybe you deserve the loss of your account and $2,000. So, backstory. I work for a company that does LARP-based events, birthday parties mostly, but also quite a few company trips, and other general weird events. And every year we attend several medieval fairs, as they provide excellent advertisement for the company, and are a lot of fun for us crew. So my job on this medieval fair was to coordinate our archery with foam arrows, and hammer and rock throwing, which was located right besides one of the 3 taverns on the market. Now, there being a tavern meant there also had to be several emergency roads, one of which leads right between my area and that of another activity of ours. So, to the story. I was standing there, teaching some kids how to use a bow and arrow, all well and good, with the emergency road being fairly packed, but that's no biggie, since should there be an emergency, the people can get moved really quite quickly. We're just not allowed to block it with anything. As the kid finishes his turn, having an absolute blast shooting arrows against heathenistic Swedes, I look over and notice someone from the tavern tent come walking towards me. Quite naturally, I walk towards him and apologize to the next in line that they'll have to wait a moment. The guy looks displeased, to say the least, and I immediately get ready for an earful, but fortunately, not my fault. He had just spoken with the safety team, and the fire road was too blocked, so I turned to look and see the problem. The road was fairly busy, but in the middle of it all, I see a woman sitting in a camping chair with a baby stroller next to her, and based on her haircut, facial expression, and style of clothing, I began seeing a massive sign above her head with the name Karen written on it. Now, with the way my area and the one next to me was made, we have a dead zone between us and an area that can really be used for anything, and is just kinda there. So me being the smarty boy that I am, I think to myself, if I move Karen over there into the dead zone, problem solved. So I go over to her and of course start off with, "Excuse me ma'am," EM in a very snarky tone.
"But shouldn't you be doing your job and get this line done with?"
"Well, yes I should, but first I need you to move over with your stroller, over there." I point to the dead zone.
"Why? I'm sitting perfectly fine here, and I want to watch my boy when he shoots."
"Ma'am, you'll be perfectly capable of watching him over there."
"And why do I have to move?"
"Because ma'am, this is an emergency road, and your chair and stroller is in the way."
"But there isn't any emergency now, is there?"
"No, but that doesn't matter ma'am. The road is in case there is one."
"You listen here. You just do your darn job, or I'll report you for harassment and get you fired. I know the man who runs this show."
She didn't clarify whether she meant just our little area where I happen to be on very good terms with my boss, or the whole market, where I also happen to be on good terms with the people at the top. Ma'am, I don't really care who you know. I've gotten word from the safety team that strollers, chairs and such aren't allowed in the emergency roads. This kind of talk followed for quite a while, with her creating quite a scene, mentioning numerous times that she knew the boss showrunner director. She used a lot of different names for him. Now, what I didn't know was that one of the other crew had gotten hold of the big man himself and asked him to come down. So after maybe 10 minutes of very fruitless conversation, he arrives and he takes over for me, trying to explain to this lady that she has to move. She gets very aggressive with the change in person and threatens the big man himself with getting him fired. Now, I'd like to think I'm usually pretty good at keeping my cool, but I lost it. I begin laughing like a lunatic, and the few around me who overheard it and knows who the big man is also begin laughing, which only makes EM even more frantic, and she begins screaming,
"Shut up, all of you! I know the man who runs this entire market, and I'm gonna get you all fired."
I almost fall over myself laughing. So, the big man himself asks EM, "So who exactly is it you know?" And to my surprise, she actually knows the name of the big man and says it straight to his face. So the big man himself confirms that she claims to know him personally. And lo and behold, he just reaches for his ID, and I could see the look on her face when she realizes that it was in fact him. She quickly grabbed her son, her chair, her stroller, and stormed off. Not a lot more happened other than a lot of laughs that evening. It's like an automatic default reflex for an entitled parent to always appeal to authority. It's strange that she knew the guy's name. Like, do they come prepared and like look up their name so they can claim like, yeah, see, I know him, I know his name? Or by some coincidence does she have like a friend of a friend who does know him, and then she thinks she has like a connection that gives her some sense of power to what? Stay on an emergency road? So what if there was an emergency and a service car is trying to get through? Where she's just gonna sit there and be like,
"Well, I know the guy who runs the place, so I'm not moving."
Then the news the next day, local idiot kills 5 with camping chair. Now, if you're unaware, you can actually use family sharing to share games across multiple computers. It requires someone to log into your account, download a game, then log back into their account. After they've done this, they'll try to play the game they've downloaded, but get met with a screen telling them they don't have permission to play it. You can then send a request, and using the original user's email, they can give the person permission to play their games. I mentioned this because after I was doing some screen sharing on Discord, we all looked at each other's Steam libraries and had an idea. We all traded account info and downloaded one game from each other's libraries and played each other's games. There is one problem with this system, however. You can only share your library with only so many people. So when we're done, we had all filled each other's share limit and couldn't allow anyone else to play our games. That being said, on the day this occurred, I was having mic problems. My mic was incredibly quiet and barely anyone could hear me, so I had to enter my account details into the chat. The Discord we were using was a friends only room, so we were the only ones in there. We also had one other kid who wasn't in the room. I wasn't too familiar with this kid. I only knew him as the friend of another guy in the chat room I was close with. The only reason he was invited into the room was because we were talking about setting up a Discord before playing a few matches on TF2. While we were talking, however, the kid overheard us. The kid started whining about how he wanted to be on the server because he had no friends, and he wanted to be a part of something big. It wasn't really that big, considering it was just a few guys playing Team Fortress 2, but whatever. My friend convinces me to just let him play with us, so he'll stop complaining, and we do. Big mistake, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, soon after we had entered each other's account details, I changed my password to be safe, which luckily doesn't take anyone's permissions either. Cue the next day. I'm looking at my emails through my phone, and there's a ton of password entered incorrectly from Steam, and my account ended up getting locked. I'm confused and just assume it's an idiotic hacker who's trying to get into my account. I reinstate my account and get on. After a short while, I get a message from the kid.
"Hey, I tried entering your password and I can't get in."
I'm immediately confused. Why were you trying to get into my account?
"You posted your passwords and stuff on Discord. I saw them and wanted to look at your games."
That was for my friends at the time. I never gave you permission to access my account.
"But you gave everyone else your account. Why not me?"
Because I barely know you. I trust everyone else with my details because I've known them for years.
"But I'm in the Discord with you."
That should be proof enough that I'm trustworthy. No, you got into our Discord because you complained to my friend that you didn't have any friends. That doesn't prove you're trustworthy, it just proves you complain when something doesn't go your way. The kid responds as if to prove my point. But I want to play your games. Look, even if I did share my games with you, you wouldn't be able to play them. Why not? I've already shared the max account of computers available through family sharing, and I can't let anyone else use my account. Then kick someone off your account and let me in. At this point, I had had enough and just closed the friends tab while he spammed me messages about how I should be a better friend and about how my other friends were going to hear about this. Sure enough, the next day, one of my friends voice chats me. Hey, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the kid was talking crap about you last night and we just told him off. Did he ever say why he was complaining? Not really. After you went to bed last night, he hopped on and just started calling you out for some reason. I merely shook my head. We talked for a while before he signed off. It wasn't until later that night when the magical moment happened. I was playing Dark Sanctuary and suddenly heard a voice call coming through Steam. I clicked out of the game and opened up my friends tab. Oh boy, it's the kid. I answered the phone call, and to my surprise, there's a guy breathing deep into the microphone. It legitimately sounded like this guy swallowed the microphone.
Are you the guy who's been isolating my kid?
Once again, I'm confused. Isolating?
Yeah, you're not letting my son have the same account your friends are using.
I roll my eyes. I then try to explain to him the situation and that I barely knew his son, but all I got in return was,
my son doesn't have any friends because of people like you that bully him and make him feel left out. I don't care what you have to do. Let my son play your games like you did with those other kids and apologize to him while you're at it.
I pause for a moment out of sheer audacity. I collect myself and then respond, Sir, I'm not gonna do that. I have no reason to apologize to your son, seeing as I've done nothing wrong. I'm also not going to. Before I could continue, I get hit with the golden line.
I've been in the military for 15 years. I can kick a little crap like you down the street and still walk around without a care in the world. I'll be smiling the entire time I do it too, unless you give my son your account info.
I suddenly catch a slight giggle in the background and realize the kid is in the room with his dad. I decide that I've had enough of both this kid and his father. I'm not going to apologize, and your son can't have my account. I hang up and block the kid's account. I shortly hop onto Discord and explain the situation to my friends. We all unanimously agree to kick him from the Discord and block him from Steam. The next day, the kid comes screaming at my friend and me, crying about how he doesn't want to be abandoned and that he was sorry for his dad's actions. I pointed out that if that was actually true, he wouldn't have been laughing while his dad was threatening me with violence. We moved on and continued gaming without a word from the kid or his dad, and I still live to this day with my butt intact. It's probably really easy in situations like this to be tempted to just apologize straight away. However, I think this reduces the value of a sincere apology. If you apologize over things that you didn't actually do wrong, when it's the other person's fault, or when someone else is offended by something that you did that was completely harmless, then when it comes time to actually apologize for something that you've actually done wrong to someone, is the apology even worth anything? Not really. When you've wronged someone, own up to it and apologize. When someone's trying to accuse you of doing something wrong, when you've been completely kind, compassionate, and reasonable, call them out on it. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.